Moving on to the next project for the interior, I've decided to deal with upholstering the two front bucket seats and the rear seat. The bottom and back are separate. I'm going to pull them off out of the rafters and get going on that. So we'll start with the rear seat bottom. Obviously that clears the tunnel. And that is the back. So going through this and looking around, there's it's rusty. It's not bad. This was a replacement. The one it replaced was far worse. This wire here comes out. This is how the upholstery is attached to the frame. I think it appears like, yeah, this is the top. I'm not sure how this would be the way of attaching the upholstery up here. Anyway, we'll take a closer look at things. I think somebody just pulled off, leaving these wires on there, because these hog rings would be what attaches, or what's used to attach items. Now, on top of this is some padding. There's a part of me that thinks I'm looking at this upside down, but these clips must go towards attaching the seat back. They don't look quite right to me. Anyway, I'm just going to clean this up. There's some quick welding that needs to go in here, probably some reinforcement. That is broken. That is bent. It needs a good wire brushing and then a good coat of Pour 15. I think this was just used to hold the halves together in the box. So I'll relieve those as well. All right, a little more documentation. Hog rings all across here with that rod, which I believe would have held the material to the back here. Also hog rings all across here. They're just hog rings everywhere. Hog rings all across this front. Now that, I suppose, makes sense for the front of this. And a lot of this is when I get the new upholstery, it'll be pretty apparent where the hog rings need to go. Yeah, again, they're just everywhere. I wouldn't imagine that they needed to attach the upholstery mid-span of this, but again, all the hog rings. And this is the bottom, so it makes sense that they would pull the seat cover over top and then hog ring it to there. And same thing over here, but unfortunately some of that is missing, hence the reason there's no hog rings. And as I've released this, it appears that a lot of these hog rings kind of hold pieces of the springs to each other and to the frame. And what I will do is go through and attempt to get pieces like that piece there, which I know fits into this slot here somehow, and this spring here has to come up and be in line with all of these other ones across here. So it's just a matter of making all of these springs make sense. And kind of there's definitely a pattern across here that is going to guide me to hog ringing these back the way they need to be. All right, here we are with the back seat, the back of the back seat, and this is in pretty good shape. It didn't get as exposed to sitting in water, so there's a lot less to it. Not as much weight when you're just leaning back as opposed to sitting on. So this is mostly just to kind of record how everything is attached. There was a cloth panel that is rotted away that would have sat there. We've got this strip which just slides in that channel holder, which is metal, unscrews. You can see how this one still has the cloth panel coming up, and it's hog ringed to that rim right there. Up from the back, there's and it says it has a name. It's like listing wire, something like that. Anyway, that goes through a pocket in the upholstery, and then it gets hog ringed to these kind of holes. These are still in good shape. That's good. Let's flip it over. So this side would be the top of the back. Kind of already seen the lower part. I don't think that there's any attachment to this. Anyway, we will remove the cover and see what it looks like underneath. Due to corrosion, I didn't break any of these, but I did need to use the impact driver to get these Phillips head screws loose. And so it looks like there's a Phillips head screw holding this snap, call it a receiver, the male portion of the snap. The tonneau cover will attach to this. So with that panel off, you can see that these are hog ringed. This little cloth extension is hog ringed to this rail in the seat back, and it appears that there's holes where that needs to happen to kind of guide the distance between hog rings. Let's see what's underneath this. So all of the hog rings have been taken out, and the listing wire is either over there or here. So the outside layer is the vinyl, and that's what that looks like. Even some factory marking on here. This is Tex 56. So it may correspond to a color, a pattern. There's a 565. This could be pieces that the seamer, I won't say seamstress, but whoever sewed this together needed that. So again, the cloth, the pocket for the listing wire, and the listing wire through there. And after that, there is a layer of foam. And under the foam is burlap. I don't think that's part of the foam. I think they just merged together over the years. And interesting, it looks like that was hog ringed to wires. May have been hog ringed top and bottom, just again to hold it in place to keep it from not falling down behind the vinyl. So that's something to bear in mind, hog ringing top and bottom, possibly even the edges out here. Yeah, there's some hog rings there. So they hog ringed after they put, oh, that's the burlap. Maybe there's burlap there too. Anyway, I'm assuming that this is a vapor resistant kind of thing, moisture barrier. So we've got the burlap over the spring frame, and then the padding, and there must have been some backing on the padding that they were all able to hog ring this, keep it from floating down, and then obviously the upholstery goes on over top of that. It's hog ringed again. Also appears that there's a burlap panel that fits in here, is hog ringed there and there. I imagine that just keeps this from springing too far, takes some of the load off of the vinyl. You can see where there's padding left, there are hog rings underneath there that held on. That whole burlap pad affair kind of rotted away on this side. So we'll probably put another piece of listing wire and attach it wherever, kind of rebuild the frame where necessary. Good thing is that some of these, or the surfaces that you hog ring to, seem to be solid, just surface rust on them. So we'll pull the rest of the hog rings out and get this burlap out of the way, and then we'll eventually sandblast this and coat it with paint. A little more documentation of where hog rings were. This again was this burlap, small burlap panel. It was hog ringed to that tab. Yeah, same thing on this side. And then there's no listing wire. Oh, there is a listing wire in that panel. It's a small one on both top and bottom. On to the bucket seats. So the first thing to do is to remove some of this outside trim. Got Phillips screwdrivers. It's going to require a little bit of a prying off. That will expose a pivot bolt and nut. This shouldn't have to come off. It can stay with the seat runners, brackets, whatever. I'll take those off from the rest of the frame. Kind of just get a sense of what this looked like. This is the original seat cover on this. Here's the underside, and again, there's a bolt there too. I'll refinish these runners, and you can kind of see hog ringing would have happened, but those have rusted off. Hopefully I can get a hog ring kind of through that hole and around the outside. No, won't be able to. We'll have to work on these, probably drill holes or something that will allow the hog ring to fit through, and kind of just a sense of what this looks like. Hog rings back here, holding the back of the bottom upholstery. There'll be more details as I get it further apart. A couple more features to document. The bumpers, they go on the lower half, and then the metal pads that press on the bumpers, they go in the seat back. And I've got PB Blaster soaking those Phillips heads, but I'll probably still have to, like on the side, use the impact driver to get them off. My initial attempt to remove these push-on covers was to pry this spatula between the chrome trim piece and the underside of there, which I did. Got it a little bit of a movement. I stuck a flat blade screwdriver in there, but yeah, you can kind of see the gouge marks. So these have got to be cheap, I'm sure. So just grabbing them with the vice grips and spinning them, pushing a little bit more, eventually they deformed enough to come off that post. So now the side trim piece is free, and you can see listing wire, hog rings attaching the front and rear halves of the top part of the back seat to there. When I get the other one done, this will allow me to press or spread apart these arms and get the seat back loose from the seat bottom. Before removing this runner, seat base, whatever, I'll have to disconnect this spring that's used basically to try to pull the seat all the way forward when you do release the seat adjuster. So there's going to be, we'll peek down in there and just get a pair of pliers and pull that loose. The other end is connected there. The straight part is towards the foot of the base. Well, just to be different, this one has a nut, and this would be the outboard side of the driver's seat. I don't know what's on this end, but I'll document that. This feels like wood. That's crazy. Now, granted, I don't think I would have replaced it with a piece of dowel. We'll have to look and see. I have a feeling that was a rubber and not wood. Anyway, that spring will come loose that pulls back the adjuster handle. Appears that, well, maybe it's all connected to the runner. We'll take the runner off, or begin to, and see what's hanging us up. So, I know why that was a bolt with a washer and a nut on the end. It was because, for whatever reason, these inboard, and I busted this one off, bolts were just seized in there. So again, it's been many years, but maybe it had been so bad that I had broken it. I mean, this is feels like a relatively new bolt on there. So we'll do the same thing here, and that's pop out that nut inside and then use a bolt there. I mean, I suppose I could go through the effort of drilling it and, you know, trying an easy out. We'll see. We'll soak it down with PB Blaster anyway. There. Yeah, I can't get to the backside, unfortunately. Well, this will be a challenge. We'll see. Could have no choice but to do easy out there. So these halves were through the listing wire to each other, but not to the frame. So this half hog ring to that half, and like there, and there. Now I'm trying to use the impact driver to get those out, but they are having none of it. They have become one, the screws have become one with the frame. Alright, I took a flat-bladed screwdriver and went between, because I'm throwing the upholstery away, or the vinyl away, obviously, there and opposite, and kind of pried up, and that, first of all, broke the bond loose between the washer and the screw. The other thing it did, and again, I only did it enough to kind of move it, not to try to break it. But once that bond between the washer and the screw, I think it also kind of affected the threads. But lo and behold, once that's loose, we can turn the screw and get it out. So I will do that. Some more documentation as to how the upholstery is attached to the frame. There must be something going through this edge and into the frame, and you know, there may be more up in there, back behind there. So we'll carefully pry things apart, trying to not have anything break.